This is my interview with Kyle Balda, recorded for my documentary The Making of Day of the Tentacle for this year's 30th anniversary. Kyle was an intern animator for Day of the Tentacle and created the animated intro. He's since had a hugely successful career in film animation, working at ILM on films such as The Mask, Jumanji and Mars Attacks, at Pixar on films including Toy Story 2, A Bug's Life and Monsters Inc., and has directed many films at Illumination including Despicable Me 3 and Minions. There's a Linktree link below where you can follow Kyle and links to the full playlist of interviews and the full documentary. As always, I've edited out some pleasantries at the start, so we'll jump right in. Enjoy! What were you studying at college and where when you came to do this internship?
Sure. Yeah, so I was finishing my first year at CalArts studying character animation. And actually there was three people from ILM and LucasArts games that came to give a talk, kind of an inspirational talk. That was Steve Williams, Eric Armstrong, who were at ILM, and Colette Michaud, who was the head of the art department at LucasArts Games. And and they were, also getting everybody excited about a movie that they were working on that was going to involve photorealistic dinosaurs. And that was like, it was 92, I think, 91 or 92. Can't remember exactly. But everyone was showing their portfolios. And I was a big gamer as a kid, arcade games, because consoles were pretty rare, or like the kid at school who had the console, everyone would be at their house. So they, showed some stuff from like Monkey Island, some of the other games that they had made, and they were looking for an intern. So I applied for the intern animator job at LucasArts. And that involved actually going there and doing an animation test, like a walk cycle with Guybrush from Monkey Island. And on D-Paint Animator, we're using the Amigas. So, this is very ancient, like technology now. But it went really well, and they liked what I did, and it was a paid internship, and so it was very helpful to be able to make some money during the summer, continue learning, and be able to afford another year of CalArts when it was over. But I think one thing that's really interesting to note is I had a blast there, such a great time, learned so much, everybody so friendly and so talented. And they asked me if I wanted to come back and do some more work over my Christmas break for 2 weeks. And to which I was thrilled to have that chance. And that's when I did the opening credits sequence. And that was interesting because they actually shut down for those 2 weeks and everyone had their holiday. But there was a couch that rolled out into a bed in the studio, and I basically just kind of lived there for 2 weeks by myself, and I just worked, probably 10 or 12 hours a day, not because of like crazy deadlines, but just because I really wanted to do the whole credits, and I was super into it. And it was just a lot of fun. So that was, looking back on it, like thinking about living at the studio for 2 weeks straight, maybe doesn't sound so great, but it was a really good time when you're like 20 years old. So
that 2 week period is when you did the intro, then the entirety of it.
Yes, yeah. The summer vacation was more. The summer internship was much more doing, game animation, like in-game animations. Like when you punch the clown and the clown like bounces back and forth, and then you eventually like take the knife to it. Things like that, or the beauty pageant part of the game. I'm just trying to remember some. I think I did Hoagie washing the carriage. That rings a bell. I'm trying to like go back and pick out the individual animations that I did. But yeah, those were a lot of the things that I did over the summer. The opening credits was interesting because so Peter Chan did all the designs and all the backgrounds, And so he just gave me all those images. And I would talk with him and Larry Ahern about like, okay, well, maybe the car could go this way or that way. And people would throw out ideas. And then a lot of it too was just things I found, and on the go. Um, and I had just having all the fun with like the lens flares and of the headlights and all that kind of stuff. But then I was mostly unsupervised for once I get started in that project.
What direction did they give you for it?
I think a lot of it was, unless they had a very specific idea, so it's hard to like nail down exact notes that they gave like 30 years on. But I think that most of what made the job so much fun is that they had a lot of confidence and trust in me to just kind of run with things. Um, and but also like I wasn't coming from any kind of ego place of like this has to be my vision or something like that, especially as an intern. But just to be sure to like accommodate anything that they had in mind. um but there might have been, I can't say for sure that these are the things that happens, but just to give you an example, like the car going through the fence and the fence breaking. Oh, can I do that? Can I bust this up? Or can I have this as a separate element so I can animate that? Oh yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Sure, go for it. Definitely working within the layout that Peter had done, not changing that at all. And in fact, I mean, there wouldn't be any way that I could have imagined plussing it, you know what I mean? Because it's like Peter Chan is so brilliant, so it'd be, you're just like happy to have such great material to build something on top of.
What hardware were you using for that? Presumably you weren't still on Amigas by then, were you? Or
That was all Amiga.
oh,
Yeah.
okay.
All Amiga D-Paint Animator, pixel by pixel. So it was a very meditative actually way to animate. So
Yeah, I
but
bet.
it's actually the opening credits were a little bit easier because it was all in silhouette with just like a little bit of a rim light. If you think about like Hoagie washing the carriage, he has all these colors and everything, so you have to make sure you're animating everything and keeping it on model as best you can. And we would start with, I think I was even using a mouse at that time rather than like a stylus. So I was like using this like basic brick to kind of like rough in the circles of the body and the head and everything and try to get it working. And if memory serves, I think it was, I don't even think that it was like 24 frames per second, which is like typical, and you draw like 12 images to get a second on twos. I think it might have been like on fours even. I'd have to go back and really look at it to kind of figure that out. But that, I mean, that's at least the upside of that is that there's less drawings to do. Um, but just roughing it in, and then most of the time would just be cleaning it up because we'd all do our own cleanup for that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just like putting on the headphones and just zoning out and building little colored bricks to make your animation. So
So, as you said, it was kind of very few colors, the intro, and it's set at night. Presumably, that was a conscious choice to make it cheaper to run, was it?
I don't think it was actually done for that reason. I think it was just an aesthetic choice, of like the nighttime drive. So it's, yeah, it's I mean, if it was a conscious choice, I think it was a good one, like for production, to keep it down, because I don't, looking back on it, like I don't miss it being like full daytime. I think the headlights and the special effects animation of the headlights is such a big part of it. So it's sort of like if it gave us any, if it was cutting corners in any other way, we bought back the time by kind of over animating it. So
Yeah, I watched it earlier today just as like a refresher, but the headlights really stand out as like a wow because of offset against the dark background and everything.
yeah,
Looks amazing.
yeah, it was really a lot of fun to do and to kind of figure it out. So I don't know if this is true for a lot of character animators, but like one of the things I had animated in I guess technically it's still the intro of the game, is, you know, the sewer pipes that are like belching out all the chemical waste and everything, and like and like all the chemical streams. You know, I did all that animation, and this is so different from character animation, because it's not, you're not animating something that's thinking or feeling. You're trying to animate something that's like a material or fire, you know. And there's something that's really yeah, it really is just like kind of a meditation to do that kind of thing, because you're just like animating like S curves and trying to get like a or smoke or anything like that. So it's really refreshing to be able to kind of go back and forth between character animation and VFX.
So do you remember much about the team as a whole and the kind of working environment at LucasArts at the time?
I mean, we were very tight knit. We all like ate lunch together. We went to go see movies together. We hung out on the weekends. Tim Schafer, Dave Grossman, you know, like we'd go to concerts. We would, you know, so it was really like a dream job, like being in school. It was almost like an extension of still being in art school, but you're working on a real project and people are giving you money for it. So it's, you know, and like we just had, it was really like a great summer, basically. I grew up in Arizona in Tucson, which is it's beautiful in its own way. It's a desert. But Northern California and sort of like the green kind of forests around there, that's always had a lot of appeal to me. So, and that summer was so influential to me that I actually went the next year to go work at ILM, post Jurassic Park. And just the Bay Area and everything, I think is just such a great place to be. So that also was a new discovery for me as like a, you know, young person.
So when you went to do this internship, was your goal to get into film animation?
My goal at that point, to be like totally transparent, would be to just be able to make a living doing something creative. You know, I grew up just drawing pictures all the time. I had no idea how to like translate that into a job. So back in the day when I was like maybe 16 or 17, if you would have asked me what I wanted to do, it would have been like a commercial artist or illustrator, but we're not really even understanding what that is. And maybe I have to go to art school for this. And I got really lucky because a friend of the family was a Disney animator at the time, Dan Jupe. And he was animating a lot of the Sebastian the Crab stuff in the original Little Mermaid. And he just basically said that this is what you have to do if you want to do this. And like this, you know, animation is not illustration. And here's how it's different. You're not drawing light, you're drawing life, you know. So you have to change your mindset completely for that. And just very generous with his time. And he even hosted me for a weekend in Los Angeles and drove me up to Cal Arts and walked me around the campus and answered all my questions very patiently. Um, and I think, you know, if I hadn't had that chance meeting, I really don't know if I would have even gotten on this track, which I'm just very grateful for. So, you know, basically what happened is I had caught a glimpse of like a still image of the dinosaurs in Jurassic Park while I was in my internship. And because it was literally just across the parking lot, those buildings where they're making that. And I was already a big fan of what Pixar was doing, because not because I was like a computer type person. I think if you grow up playing video games, then you're comfortable with computers to some degree. I had programmed like a video game on my Commodore VIC-20 when I was really, really young, but just following the recipe that they gave you in the book. And the excitement that when you hit play, like you can actually, you know, your little tank thing can shoot like the cloud or whatever that you made, and that was all it could do. But so there was a level of comfort. But but seeing what Pixar was doing with the Luxo films and Tin Toy at festivals, I really like just felt like, oh, that looks so cool. I want to do something like that. And when I got back to Cal Arts after my Day of the Tentacle internship, um, ILM had donated the Iris machines, the Silicon Graphics machines, five of them that they used to make the Abyss and Terminator 2. So there was already like even just like lore, like Hollywood lore around these computers that are now in this room on campus, and people would go by and there would be tours, and these were the computers they made the Abyss on. And so you could submit a storyboard to do a short film on these computers. And I spent a lot of my second year at school working on that. But the school didn't yet, this is 92, 93. The school didn't have like a really strong curriculum to teach you the methodology of 3D computer animation. So we were learning Unix, and like how to like program and put textures on bases and things like that. And what I made in my computer animation was kind of an embarrassment, especially looking back at it today, because it didn't really have the thinking and feeling and the communication and that kind of thing. So at that point, PDI, Pacific Data Images, which later got folded into DreamWorks, but they were like one of the big four. Back in the day, it was Pixar, ILM, Rhythm and Hues, and Pacific Data Images. And they had offered me an internship also in the Bay Area based off of my first year. And they made it really clear. They said, this is based off of your first year hand-drawn work that you did. Your 3D animation, we're just going to pretend we didn't see that, but we'll show you how to do that. And they did. So Eric Darnell, Tim Johnson, and Rex Grignon, who are all legends in their own right now. They were my mentors, during this period, and especially Eric Darnell kind of just sat down with me and said, "Here's how you do 3D animation," and it was a very non-technical approach, just the methodology of like how to try doing it. And I made like a little 30-second film there that had much better character animation, and actually it was based off of the punching the clown from Day of the Tentacle. I just took that idea and did it in 3D. And built a very simple little story around it. But unfortunately, PDI didn't have any work at the end of that internship. And so I was looking at going back to Cal Arts, which was, it's not cheap, or like trying to get a job. And morphing was really huge at that period. There was, like music videos and a lot of stuff happening with morphing. And PDI was doing a lot of morphing. And they said, well, we can give you a job in commercials, and if character animation work comes up, we'll put you on it, but we can't keep you steadily working there. And they were very supportive because that summer we all saw Jurassic Park, and it was like, this is crazy what people are doing now with this technology. And ILM, because of the success of that, they suddenly had more films than they could handle with their current staff. Jumanji, Casper, Dragonheart, like all these movies were getting launched. And the Mask. So I said, well, I'm going to send my portfolio over there and see what happens. And they offered me a job working on movies and doing character animation. And so everybody at PDI was like totally understanding. And I quit school and started working on the Flintstones and then the Mask. And then very shortly after that, I think I was 22 years old, Jumanji was starting, and they offered me an animation supervisor job on it. And I think the significance of that story is more how fast the industry was growing, that I was 22 and like had been there for about a year and a half. And already it's like, well, you have seniority now over all these other people that were hiring. It was growing so quickly. There was 30 people in computer graphics at ILM when I started. And when I left roughly 4.5, 5 years later, I think there were well over 800 people. Rob Coleman started the same week as me, who people probably know from all the work he's done on Star Wars, since then. So really, again, another interesting time to be in the industry and to see how quickly it was expanding.
Mm. And yeah, I mean, looking at your list of accomplishments since, it's incredible, incredible journey. Then it's interesting where it all started in a way, with Day of the Tentacle, I suppose, or at LucasArts.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and like for example, especially Peter Chan is somebody I still, we give each other life updates every once in a while, and a really good friend. but I will say that it's certainly set the bar really high in terms of just like enjoyment of where you work and the people you're working with, because it was I mean, I was really spoiled because the group of people and the project and the level of, like just go for it, see what you can do, and then we'll give you notes rather than like being guided so strongly to do it like exactly a specific way. And there's been variations of that throughout my career, but yeah, that was a really special way to start things out.
Mm. Well, thank you for all the info and for your
Mhm.
time. And it's nice to hear you talk about the Amiga a bit. I've got an Amiga sat next to me here, so
Oh, really?
yeah, big fan of the Amiga.
Do you have
Um,
D-Paint on it?
um, no, when I originally got it, it came with D-Paint 2,
Okay.
as like the pack in. But I don't have a box copy of it anymore. It might be, I've got like an SD card thing in it, so it might be actually on there, but I can't say I've fired it up for a long time.
Yeah, that would be it'd be interesting to look at it now just like for nostalgia, but
Mm. Yeah, it's like I mean, it's similar in a way to Paint, I suppose, isn't it? Visually for the
mm,
for the layman, yeah. But
yeah.
I used to play around with it when I was a kid and draw things, not very well, admittedly, but it's amazing that like people like Mark Ferrari at Lucas were doing amazing like pixel art stuff
Yeah.
on D-Paint and still are actually. There's a big kind of pixel art community that.
Yeah, I think it's such a great argument for, you know, s- like throughout my career, the biggest question that I get asked most by aspiring animators or students has been, what software do you use? And it's always been, that's really not the question. It's I have used so many different animation softwares throughout the eras, and 3D softwares as well. And the only thing that's never changed is the principles of animation. So that's like it's what you can extract from the tools. That's all coming from you rather than the machine. So
Hmm. Is there anything you'd like to plug when I end up making
oh
this
no,
video?
not particularly. I just thought this would be a it'd be fun to go down memory lane and talk a little bit about Day of the Tentacle. So
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure to talk
yeah.
to you. And yeah, when I eventually edit this thing into a making a Day of the Tentacle, I'll send you a link. But
Yeah, I'd love to
thank
see
you
it.
so much.
I'd
Thank
love to see
you.
it. Thank you. All right.
All right,
Bye-bye.
have a good day. Cheers.
You too.